BoDean 52, how are you, folks? Hope you are well. I'm out on the King today. I want to talk to you about something real important. And that is, I want to talk about motorcycle dealerships, whether it's Harley Davidson or somebody else. Today we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and I can't talk about Honda dealerships or Kawasaki places, or I can't talk about those places because I've never been there. But when you talk about Harley Davidson dealerships, you're probably in one of a few camps. Now, first let me say I did a video a week or two back that talked about, working on your own motorcycle. Should you do that? Should you not do that? Who cares if you do? Blah, blah, blah. I'll link that in the description. And that's not really what this is about. This is about talking about what's good, bad, and what's kind of ugly. And I'm one of those guys that... let's start with the challenges. Isn't that the right way to say it nowadays? Let's talk about the challenges and the obstacles that we have. No, let's talk about the crappy thing when it comes to Harley Davidson dealerships, okay? I have talked, I actually did a video long ago when I bought my Road Glide, not long ago, but let's say a year ago, and talked about my awful experience trying to buy a motorcycle at a dealership here in Michigan. Just awful. Embarrassed for them, mad at them, would never go in there to buy anything again. I keep getting emails about coming in and going to events and stuff. I'd never step foot in there again. And just as somebody that's in the business world, just awful business. Just awful business practices. And that really taints people's opinion of dealerships. Now, I have buddies that have been to dealerships that have left there, had service done there, which may be another reason you want to work on your own bike if you can't find a good dealership. We're going to talk about the good here in a minute. And found that they got halfway down the road and their bike either quit, blowing oil out the side of it, just a bunch of problems where there was maybe things forgot. Okay, that's nice again. Neglect, stupidity. And it makes you have an opinion about dealerships because there are bad ones out there. There are no doubt there are bad ones out there. And I'll tell you what, if you've had a bad experience, I'd love you to put that down in the comment section so we can kind of gather some of that. But I'd also like to hear from those folks that had a good experience. One of my favorite places to drive by. This barn, I'm telling you, and if you follow my channel, you'll know this. You're like, just do it already. I want to get a picture in front of that barn with my motorcycle. But obviously I'm not going to pull up on the guy's property. I don't want to go knock on their door. Probably put a shotgun to my head. But the first day those people are out and I drive by, you can darn well bet I'm going to pop in there and say, hey, it's BoDean 52. All right, focus. Back to dealerships. I've heard countless stories at some dealerships where women are coming in trying to buy motorcycles and people aren't talking to them respectful or thinking they're knowledgeable when I'm betting when they go in to buy a motorcycle probably know a lot more than most of the people in there. So just a disrespect type bad thing. There's a lot of that going on. But, and I like to consider myself a positive guy, so that really hurts me just to flat out say, there's some dealerships that just suck. There's no way around it, right? Let's talk about the good things. Now, in that same video I talked to you about, I found the dealership in Michigan. I just did. Capital Harley Davidson, by the way, if you're in Michigan. It's just outside of Lansing. And I'll put a link to their site. I drive further to go there, and I bought a motorcycle there because they treated me right, took care of me. And by the way, when I go in there, we know each other by name, right? They're not trying to get me to do anything. They're talking about how I'm doing. I happen to know the ownership. She has two dealerships. And just the way they handle people, the way they handle customers, or at least this customer, and everybody else I've ever talked to is just amazing, right? So, is that because of the owner? Yeah, I'm betting it probably is, right? And I remember one of the things that they said to me when I told the story about the other dealership. And the owner, she said to me, she goes, that's disappointing. Here's why. Because you're always going to go buy Harleys, Bob. Right? You just are. Actually, she said BoDean 52. Okay, she really didn't. She said, hey, Bob, you're going to buy Harleys. But what if you're the first time Harley and you're looking at a couple motorcycles and you come into a Harley dealership and they treat you like crap, right? And she goes, you're going to stop buying Harleys. You're going to go to another brand. And that bothers me because I think Harleys are the best motorcycles. I have a buddy, Pete's 1800. I love Pete, right? Pete's had some bad experiences at Harley dealerships, and he's had great experiences. But I think that helps formulate your opinion. Now, he has a bunch of different types of bikes. He has a Pan America, which I know he loves. But he has a bunch of different type of bikes. But he's been, I hate to use the word tainted, but he's had bad experiences. Experiences form our opinions, right? So I think, to me, Harley Davidson dealerships, even though they're dwindling, there's a lot of false information on why. I won't go into that. That's a video on its own. But the mothership's making it happen is not necessarily true. Coming from owners of dealerships, by the way. So I kind of trust that probably a little bit more than people that read something on the internet and regurgitate it, right? But I have watched multiple videos and had an experience myself of people being out on the road that own Harleys and breaking down. And generally, from at least in my experience, I'd love to hear your comments. If you break down on a Harley Davidson and you're on a trip, you are going to take precedent at that dealership for them to get you back on the road. My quick story is, I was going away on a vacation with my wife and two buddies for a week. Somebody ran into me at a gas station, crumpled my fender, did some other damage to my bike a couple days before my vacation. I took it over to that dealership because I had just bought it from there. They put a Street Glide fender on my motorcycle so I could go on my trip while they ordered another one. Right? There's many people that I know. The Badgers. By the way, the Badgers were in Michigan, had a problem with their bike. Sonny can do most of the work himself, just wasn't able to on the road. He took it to the same dealership I'm talking about, Capital Harley Davidson, and they got them out of a bind. I'll link his video and his channel to you. But there's numerous amount of people. I know Can-Am helped out, and other folks that I just watched with their Spider. So there is, in my opinion, a serious advantage to the Harley Davidson dealership network, especially if you're traveling. You may not like Harleys, you may not like dealerships, but at the end of the day, they are all over the country, and they are going to get you out of the bind the majority of the time. So why talk about this? Because I continue to see folks sometimes that have one bad experience and kind of broad brush that. And I just wish they would do, to a little extent, like I did, which was, hey, let me go get another experience just to make sure, quote, this isn't Harley, but it's that dealership. Because if you do, you may find some new friendships, you may find great deals, you may find a new motorcycle. A whole lot of good can come out of that. So it's like everything. There's good and the bad all over the world. You just got to find those good ones and make sure you stick with them. I just love to hear your story on your experiences. And hopefully, well, not hopefully, but somebody had a good one and a bad one. And do you think it just all the dealerships are there to rip you off? Or do you kind of agree that you just got to find a good one? I don't know. That is BoDean 52's take out America on a beautiful, beautiful day here in Michigan. You all be safe. Make sure you check on a friend. Hope you love your country like I love ours. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye, folks.